The signal came in broken, fractured across 17 frequencies, a dying scream broadcast into the cold silence of the Velthary corridor. Commander Zyrex Thorn of the Galactic Concordance Fleet stood rigid on the bridge of his wounded flagship, Sovereign Tide, watching the damage reports cascade across every display screen. His secondary arms, the smaller pair near his thorax, a feature unique to his species, the Keth-Al, trembled. Not from weakness. From cold, calculating dread. "How many ships remain?" he asked. "4, Commander," answered his tactical officer. "The Sovereign Tide, the Pale Current, and 2 escort corvettes. The Devourer Collective has us pinned against the nebula wall. Estimated time before full encirclement, 47 minutes. 47 minutes. Zyrex exhaled through his gill slits. The Devourer Collective did not take prisoners. They consumed. Literally. Organic matter, ship hull, energy core, all of it fed into their ever-hungry collective consciousness. 3 Concordance battle groups had already been swallowed in this sector in the past cycle. "Broadcast SOS on all channels," Zyrex ordered. "Even the Deathworlder bands." His communications officer hesitated. Every crew member on the bridge hesitated. The Deathworlder bands, those frequencies monitored by species classified as threat level Omega, were not used lightly. Most civilizations feared what might answer. The Devourer Collective itself, monstrous as it was, ranked only threat level 7. Humanity was unclassified. "Commander," his officer said carefully, "if the humans respond, then we survive," Zyrex said flatly. "Send it." 22 light minutes away, the UHS Wrath Eternal was running dark. Admiral Elias Rowan sat in the command throne of the largest warship humanity had ever built, 3 kilometers of reinforced titanium spine, 24 primary rail cannons, 16-point defense clusters, and a crew of 4,000 souls who had volunteered for exactly this kind of "nothing good ever happens here" posting. The Wrath Eternal was not a peacekeeping vessel. It was not a diplomatic escort. It was not designed to comfort anyone. It was designed to end things. Rowan was 53 years old. He had a jaw like carved granite, a scar that ran from his left temple to his collarbone from the Battle of Keth-Al Prime, and the kind of stillness that came not from peace but from absolute certainty. He was reading a paper novel, actual paper, printed on Earth, when the signal hit. "Admiral." Lieutenant Commander Priya Shah's voice was controlled but tight. "We're picking up a Concordance SOS. Velthary corridor. For ships, Devourer Collective engagement." Rowan turned a page. "How many Devourers?" "Preliminary scans show a cluster formation. Estimated 60 to 80 individual Devourer nodes, plus 2 carrier class." He turned another page. "And we're the closest asset?" "Yes, sir. 47 minutes at emergency burn. The Concordance ships won't last that long at current engagement rates." Rowan closed the book. He set it carefully on the armrest. He looked at the star map blooming on the main display, the ugly red swarm of Devourer signatures pressing against 4 lone friendly contacts. He felt something settle in his chest. Not rage. Not fear. Something older and quieter and far more dangerous. "Battle stations," he said. "All hands. Emergency burn to Velthary corridor. Weapons free on my mark, and only on my mark." He paused. "Tell the Concordance commander we're inbound. Tell him to hold." Shah nodded. "What do we tell him to expect, sir?" Rowan picked his book back up. "Tell him humanity sends its regards." Zyrex received the transmission 14 minutes later. "As Wrath Eternal inbound. Hold position. ETA 33 minutes. Admiral E. Rowan, Human Dreadnought Command." His tactical officer stared at the message. "1 ship?" "1 human ship," Zyrex corrected quietly. He had studied humanity. He had read the classified concordance threat assessments, the suppressed engagement records, the whispered stories traded between species who had fought beside them, or made the catastrophic error of fighting against them. One is enough. Commander, that's impossible. The collective has 80+ nodes? 63 minutes ago, we thought we were dead, Zyrex said. Adjust your expectations. On the tactical display, the Devourer formation was tightening. They were unhurried. They were always unhurried. They had never encountered a reason to hurry. In 33 minutes, they were about to encounter one. The Wrath Eternal dropped out of emergency burn with the elegance of a falling mountain. She did not slow gracefully. She did not announce herself with hailing frequencies or diplomatic protocols. She arrived at the edge of the Devourer formation doing 0.18 C, and she opened fire before the deceleration burn was even complete. The first rail cannon salvo crossed the distance in under 2 seconds. 3 Devourer nodes simply ceased to exist, not destroyed so much as erased, converted from organic mechanical nightmares into rapidly expanding debris fields. The second salvo came 4 seconds later. Then the third. The Wrath Eternal was still decelerating, still bleeding velocity, and she was firing continuously. On the bridge of the Sovereign Tide, Zyrex watched in absolute silence. How, his tactical officer began. She's not stopping, another officer whispered. She's driving straight through the formation. That was exactly what Admiral Elias Rowan was doing. The Devourer Collective had no concept of suicidal aggression because no prey species had ever demonstrated it convincingly. They had encountered aggression. They had encountered desperation. They had never encountered a 3-kilometer warship accelerating into their swarm while firing from every available hardpoint like the vacuum of space itself had decided to express an opinion. Point defense clusters lit up as Devourer tendrils, biomechanical boarding appendages, each one capable of breaching standard hull plating, reached for the Wrath Eternal. They were shredded. The point defense systems on a human dreadnought were not designed to be a last resort. They were designed to be a statement. The carrier-class Devourers turned to face this new threat. They were 800 meters across, ancient and vast and terrible. They had consumed entire civilizations. They had digested the cultural memories of 17 species. Rowan targeted both carriers simultaneously with the Wrath Eternal's primary batteries. Fire, he said. The Velthary corridor lit up like a small star. When the light faded, one carrier was gone entirely. The second was venting atmosphere from wounds that ran through 60% of its mass. Devourer nodes, the smaller units, each still formidable enough to threaten a standard warship, began breaking formation. They scattered. They fled. Zyrex had never seen a Devourer flee. He hadn't known they could. The Wrath Eternal matched velocity with the Sovereign Tide 17 minutes later. The battle, if it could be called that, was over in 11. The remaining Devourer nodes had gone to FTL scatter. The second carrier had gone silent. Zyrex opened a channel. The face that appeared on his screen was unremarkable by most species standards. An older human male. Weathered. Calm in the way that deep ocean trenches were calm, stillness above something immense. Commander Thorne, Admiral Rowan said. You held. You were. Zyrex searched for words. His species had 47 distinct linguistic registers for expressing awe. None of them felt adequate. Admiral, your single vessel just destroyed a Devourer cluster that 3 battle groups could not. Rowan tilted his head slightly. Your ships needed help. We sent that signal expecting no one to answer. Or expecting whatever answered to assess the situation and call for reinforcements. We don't really do that, Rowan said simply. Zyrex stared at him. You came alone. 1 ship. Against 80 Devourer nodes. 83, actually. We counted. That is, Zyrex stopped. Started again. Why? Rowan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, there was no performance in it, no pride, no boast. Just a human being explaining something that apparently required explanation. "Because you asked," he said. "You broadcast an SOS. People were dying. We were close." A small shrug. "That's all there is to it." Zyrex Thorn had commanded fleets for 20 years. He had negotiated with warlords and reasoned with machine intelligences and stared down the weapons of a dozen hostile species. He had never encountered anything like this. "The Concordance Council will want to send formal commendations," he said at last. "Appreciated," Rowan said. "But unnecessary." He glanced at something off-screen. "We'll escort you to the nearest Concordance station. After that, we have a patrol route to finish." He said it the way someone might mention they had groceries to pick up. Zyrex watched the channel close. He turned to his bridge crew, his battered, exhausted, alive crew, and found them all staring at the image of the Wrath Eternal on the main display. 3 kilometers of scorched tritanium and rail cannon residue, drifting placidly in the wreckage of a battle it had ended in 11 minutes. "Sir," his tactical officer said softly. "What are they?" Zyrex thought about that for a long moment. "The answer," he said finally, "to questions no one else was willing to ask." Outside, in the slowly clearing debris of the Velthary corridor, the Wrath Eternal fell into escort position, patient, enormous, and completely, terrifyingly calm. Somewhere in the Concordance archives, a threat assessment file on humanity remained stubbornly, perpetually unclassified. Every analyst who attempted to assign a threat level eventually submitted the same note. Category: Ally. Do not attempt further classification. Trust the signal.